Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's lecture. I hope you all are doing great. Today, we'll be talking about one of the most progressive project delivery methods called integrated project delivery. To begin, let's watch a video about integrated project delivery, and let's get familiar with what it is, what are the main concepts in IPD, and more.
In North America, small and large building and construction projects alike often do not finish on time or on budget. In the United States, for example, delays and cost overruns affect nearly 1 in every 3 projects.
That's a lot, right? 1 in every 3 projects cannot finish for the amount of money they had started. They were committed to finish with, okay?
But there is a better way to approach design and construction that can save resources, time, and money.
So, these are the benefits of IPD. It could save resources, time, and money, but do we need to be worried about the quality because we are spending less money, because we are spending less time? The answer is no.
Also improve the quality?
It does improve the quality. IPD does.
Comfort and environmental profile of a building during its entire life cycle.
Interestingly, IPD is effective for sustainability of the building.
The idea is to involve the project team in all stages of a construction project, from design to delivery. To understand the advantages, let's look at the traditional...
Yeah, that's the essence of IPD, collaboration. It brings
design to delivery.
It brings everybody on board, including the designer, contractor, and the owner, and even sometimes the trade contractors or suppliers. They all are on board, and they provide feedback throughout the project duration, from the starting point to substantial completion.
To understand the advantages, let's look at the traditional design, bid, and build approach. Here, an architect designs a building with expert input. Then, contractors bid for the opportunity to build it. The successful bidder oversees the construction, and building operators manage it. But this conventional assembly line approach can have plenty of hidden problems. For one, conceptual or design flaws can become apparent during the construction phase. Fixing those mistakes can derail the production schedule and add to costs. Under serious financial pressure, a project may fall short of its original goals on performance and sustainability. Now, consider a more integrated design and delivery approach. Here, the client, the design team, the construction professionals, and the building operator collaborate from conception to completion of the project.
And they're all considered at the same level, okay? So no one is necessarily reporting to another one. They're all together. They're at equal levels, all working for the general interest of the project.
Ideally, even before the design stage, these key stakeholders agree on shared values and goals and technical specifications for the project. They develop a common business model and perhaps even a common contract structure in which they all share both responsibility and reward for success. The result is a project that is likely to run more smoothly, be more efficient and profitable, and have a lower impact on the environment.
Efficient, profitable, and less impact on the environment. So IPD is actually the favorite sustainability delivery method.
You too can help build efficient, healthy, and sustainable buildings for our communities in North America and our...
All right. So let's get into more details about IPD. So IPD is a type of contract in which there is a single contract that all of the parties, all of the main project players are involved in it. So despite design bid builds in which there are 2 contracts, or despite even CMAR and design build in which the design and construction are both done by the same party, but the contractor could invite some subcontractors to the project and have their own contract between the sub and the general contractor or the design builder. In this case, there is one single multi-party contract, multi-party agreement. Okay, so if there is one contract in which everybody is involved, that is one of the identifying characteristics of or determining characteristics of an IPD project. So these type of contracts, despite the traditional delivery methods, which are focused on transactional relationships, transactional, contracting, this is based on relational contracting. Okay, means we do not want to allocate or risk to a special party and rewards to another party. No, we are all together to work for the general interest of the project. So it creates the maximum level of collaboration between team players. And actually, it's a requirement. Again, collaboration is the essence of integrated project delivery. So the owners who have done IPD have reported that IPD has created better values for them. It means less costs for a good quality. So this is important because it's working. It is working. However, it is the least common delivery methods, and I will talk about it in a little bit. That although it creates better value to the owner, many people do not like to adopt IPD for certain reasons that I will explain. So in this slide, I'm talking about different levels of collaboration as a general concept, okay? I'm not talking about IPD. I'm just talking about what level of collaboration a team can establish in a project. Let's get started with level 1, and let's call it typical collaboration. It means there is some collaboration, there is some collaborative effort between the project players. So that reminds us of two main delivery methods in which collaborative decision making, or not decision making actually, collaborative work was appreciated and was facilitated. Number one was CMAR, in which the construction manager plays the role of communication facilitator between the design and construction team. And the second one was the design build, in which both design and construction are done by the same company. Okay, so the designer and the constructors work together because they belong to the same company, or they're sharing the benefits, they're sharing the interests. That's why there is some collaboration, but the delivery method is not IPD. And most of the time, fast tracking is possible here. In enhanced collaboration, IPD techniques are actually applied, but it is not necessarily integrated project delivery. It means you are using some of the tools of integrated project delivery while your type of delivery method is still not IPD. Okay, there are some good reasons for that, because IPD has some limitations, okay, and a lot of advantages, of course. So people want to take advantage of IPD, and they want to shave, they want to trim or remove some of the disadvantages from their delivery method. So they do not have a single contract, because if they have a single contract, then it is IPD. They might still have a transactional contract, but they will be using some concepts of IPD. For example, they would be using performance-based incentives, or they would be using lean construction principles. Then the level of collaboration will be more than level 1, in which there is collaboration, but here everybody There will be some performance goals that everybody could have inputs and everybody would have incentives to fulfill them. So in level 3, which is the highest level of collaboration, IPD is officially the delivery method of the project. It means there will be one contract, everybody or all the parties involved should be involved in that contract. That obviously creates the highest level of collaboration, and obviously you have to apply IPD techniques in it. So based on that, we could have this table. If you look at the first row, top row, it has the 3 levels of collaboration, level 1, 2, and 3, from left to right. And from left to right, you will see more and more collaboration. It means maximum collaboration is in level 3, in which collaboration is not a choice, it is a must, it is a requirement. So based on that, level 1 and in level 1 and level 2 collaboration is just a philosophy, it's just a concept. The team try to collaborate with one another. In the third one, collaboration is a delivery method. Okay, it means it is a part of the delivery method. Okay, so everybody is committed to it. There could be, based on that, based on the level of collaboration that exists in any project, people could put different names on it. For example, in level 1, well, there is some collaboration. Well, there is a philosophy of collaboration exists, but doesn't necessarily have a name. In level 2, when you are using, if you remember, the definition of level 2 is that you are using the tools of IPD without officially having IPD as your delivery method. Okay. So in level 3, so in level 2, the names are IPD-ish. Okay, it means similar to IPD, but not exactly IPD, not officially IPD. So IPD light, non-multi-party IPD, and it means you could have more than a single contract while you're using IPD techniques, or hybrid IPD. Okay, so again, level 2 is common, is people's favorite level of collaboration, because you're using the tools of IPD, but you are not committed to the limitation that an IPD contract would normally create for the parties. So what are some other names people use for IPD? Some people would call it multi-party contracting, pure IPD, relational contracting, alliancing, and lean project delivery system. I will talk about how lean construction contributes to IPD in a few slides. Lean is a great tool for IPD. For now, just keep that in mind. So the delivery approach for the first level of collaboration would be CMAR, or design build. Okay, both of them would work for this. Level 2 would be CMAR, or design build again. So it means with design bid build, or with the traditional delivery method, collaboration does not really, collaboration as a rich culture throughout the project duration does not exist, because it separates the design team from the construction team. So there will be a lot of pointing, putting the blame, shifting the blame to one another, and each team will be focused on taking care of their own interests and benefits. That's why the concept of collaboration is so weak in the first and second levels of delivery. In the third, in the third level or of collaboration, you are officially doing the project with IPD. All right, so how does multi-party contracting, or how is it different, or how is it working actually? Another name for multi-party contracting is relational contracting. So In a multi-party contracting, there is a single agreement between the designer, the owner, the contractor, and sometimes major trade contractors or suppliers. Okay, so they can join the contract early in the project and they could provide feedback because fast tracking is often pursued with IPD because IPD enables fast tracking. So why not taking advantage of that? So um, sometimes you could even invite suppliers and they could provide feedback to the design team. For example, they would say to the designers that if you select this material instead of that, we can, we can save you 10% of the price. Okay. So, and the designer and the owner may decide to, to take the advice and or take the suggestion and make that modification so it could lead to some savings. So consider this case with the case of design bid build in which there is a very strict disconnection between what the designers decide and what will happen on the field, and so the people on the field can have little to zero impact on the design before it is created. Yes, after it is created, they could say this is not possible to make, or it will be very risky, very expensive. But at the design stage, people on the field cannot have any impact on the design. So, what approach is used to handle risks in multi-prime contract? Here, the focus of risk management is to mitigate the risk at project level, whereas in traditional delivery methods, every party would try to take care of their own, advantages, and they would try to, carry the least amount of risk as possible. Uh, so, how is the IPD contract language different from other types of contracting or contracts? So, in IPD, you would always see sentences, statements that encourage the team for collaboration, for asking the feedback of one another, for doing things in a team environment. So that is in contrast with a traditional contract in which the contract is all the time talking about this risk would be carried by the owner, or the designer will be responsible, or the contractor will pay the charges for that. Okay, so in a traditional contract, it is always trying to clearly state who is in charge when something goes wrong, okay, and who should pay for that, who should cover that. Whereas here, it is the language of the contract is motivating and encouraging, collaboration between the team members. Sorry about the disconnection in my video. All right, I'm back. So, what is a significant difference between IPD contracts and other contracts in terms of liability? Okay, remember I said now that IPD has a lot of advantages, it creates more value, better quality with less amount of time and less money. Why is it still the least common, the least favorite type of delivery method? Here is the answer. Because in IPD, if someone screws, the entire team, okay, are responsible to support the party at fault, okay, and you cannot say that I did my job right, why should I pay for someone else's fault? Okay, such a culture does not exist in IPD. In fact, in IPD, the team players need to sign a form in which they commit to waive their right to sue against each other. That is a big deal. Okay, that is a huge commitment. You're talking about millions of dollars, right? It's not a joke. We're talking about millions of dollars We're talking about the faults that could, make a project, shift a project from being profitable to a complete loss. Okay, you are accepting that if that happens, you will not sue against your other team players. That is a very big commitment, and many people do not like to do that. Okay, and what is another advantage of that? So, you know that if you screw something, you are not the only person. I mean, all the team are together. They got your back. Okay. So, this is a culture. I mean, not everybody with any way of thinking or behavior could work in an IPD environment. In IPD, you should have a high level of, self-commitment. You should have a high level of contributing to a team work, okay, to teamwork. Otherwise, because if you do something wrong, they will not, all the project has to work harder to, to recover the project from how you affected it. So it doesn't have a blame culture. It is a culture based on trust, respect, and collaboration. So what reimbursement method is commonly used with IPD? I would like to give you a few seconds considering our previous lectures. So we're talking about the reimbursement methods, the way you would pay back. So it could be it could be target price, cost plus. So which one do you think will be the best choice for IPD? Consider that in the case of IPD, we need to get everyone involved. So the only reimbursement method that would involve the designers throughout the project process was target price, right? So target price is the only choice for IPD because it enables us to bring designers on the board. It means they will be they will share the risks and responsibilities of the project. Okay. What are some of the contractual principles in an IPD contract? What are some of the contractual principles? So, this actually tells us how an IPD contract differs or is different from other types of contracts. Number one is that the key participants bound together as equals. What it means is that it is not an environment in which one party would necessarily report to another or one party would observe another. Everybody is working together. They're considered at the same level, okay? It is not like that one's decision is more important than another person's decision or another party's decision. They're providing feedback in all the decisions at all times, and all the decisions are made collaboratively. So shared financial risk and reward based on project outcome. Yeah. So the fiscal risk and reward is one of the identifiers of IPD. Okay. So in this type of delivery method, everybody is tied to the project interest other than the self-interest, which is hugely different from, that's one of the biggest differences of working in an IPD environment or delivery method. So liability waivers between key participants, it means when something goes wrong in other types of delivery methods, the first thing is that who should take the blame, who is faulty for that. Here, the team players will focus on the solution, okay, not assigning the blame, but finding the solution is the main strategy when something goes wrong on the project. So, fiscal transparency between key participants. Yeah, IPD has an open book in which everybody will have access to key financial information and other information, changes. We are not hiding anything from anyone because everyone is working like a family. They're working together for the common interest in a culture that shares responsibilities, risks, and rewards. So, open book is a requirement of IPD. Early involvement of key participants. In fact, to take advantage of IPD, you need to bring people on board. It means the sooner you bring them on board, the more advantage you can take out of IPD. Why is that? Because they could have inputs on the design and they could have inputs on the fundamental decisions, which are most of the time made upfront in very early stages of the project. And the project goals are defined at those early stages. So if you hear different people's concerns, limitations, you could more effectively, reflect them on the way you design, you plan, you schedule the project. So your plan schedule will be more realistic as it is, it contains, it reflects different project players' limitations and concerns. So, intensified design, yeah, again, the design here, actually designers might have a more difficult day, a designer on an IPD project compared with other, because the designer is not the sole decision maker. Designers would talk with the suppliers, with the contractor, for example, which type of design would lead to more savings for you, what type of materials, a question that a designer would ask a supplier, what type of materials are available in this area, so we won't need to pay high shipping costs, with what combination of design strategies you could get the job done faster or more quickly. So that type of conversation happens all the time between the designer, and construction in IPD, whereas it won't happen in, let's say, design bid build. In design bid build, designers make the decision and the contractor has to fulfill the design requirements or has to initiate a change order. Jointly develop project target criteria. Yes, project targets are defined by asking everybody will provide inputs, so it will use the insights of different involving parties in identifying the project goals, and it is actually encouraged. So it is very important, if you are the construction manager in an IPD project, you should establish a culture in which people's ideas are, people will buy your ideas. People are willing, are interested to hear about what you think, what your concerns are. So not everybody can have can adopt himself or herself to that kind of behavior, in which you should be flexible, you should be open to do things differently, because to accommodate other people's comfort, okay, so the project could proceed more smoothly. Behavioral principles are very important here. Remember, in IPD, all the team players are working as a family, okay? They cannot sue against one another. They have to work together. If someone screws up, they have to get the person at fault back and support them and recover the project. So there are a lot of behavioral things because they cannot sue against one another. So we do not have some of the forces that we normally have in other types of delivery methods. So to replace them, to be able to proceed the project smoothly, we need some replacements, and those replacements are primarily behavioral principles. First of which would be mutual respect and trust. So there are two different things, respect and trust. You should show respect for other people's feedback, and people, since you feel that you are supported by a team, you should not try to put your burden on others, okay? So it's based on self-commitment, it's based on the trust between the team players. They go a very, very long way. So willingness to collaborate, that is different in different people. Some people are just willing to buy different people's opinions, while we have some rigid-minded people who think that I'm sorry about this connection, who think that their decision or their way of thinking is the best, and they're not willing to hear other people's idea. Those people will erode, if they are on the team, they will erode the advantages of an IPD delivery. And when we say willingness to collaborate, it's not just saying, okay, I would like to hear your ideas. No. Sometimes if you want to accept other people's ideas or suggestions, concerns, limitations, you have to make things more difficult for yourself, okay? That's when you can say, I am open to collaboration. When you are ready to make your job harder, do additional effort, so that the project can proceed more smoothly, or other teams can take a bigger advantage compared to the disadvantage that is forced to you, okay? So in that case, you have a culture of working collaboratively with other team players. Open communication is very important. IPD enables the team to clearly, explicitly, and freely, without the fear of being, being at different, being in different levels. Without that fear, they could communicate with one another. Okay, so open communication is facilitated. So the next thing is share risks and rewards. The good thing, the bad thing, and the good thing are both shared between the team players. So it's a relational contract. I try to avoid the repetition in some of the sentences. Yes, people will work for projects' best interest, despite other delivery methods in which people would work or would be working for their self-interest. Again, target price reimbursement method enables involvement of the designer in the risks and rewards. That's why it's the favorite reimbursement method when you are doing IPD. Okay, here is one of the biggest advantages of IPD for owners. So what happens is that in a project, there are different contingencies that project players, primarily designer and contractor, have to consider, okay, for unexpected costs. So they would add to their price because they have to add contingency to their estimates. And owner, at the end of the day, will have the owner at the end of the day will have to pay for those contingencies. In IPD, instead of having redundant contingencies, one for designer, one for contractor, there is a single pool of contingency. So we have set some money aside, if you're a lucky family, it's like we have some savings for the cloudy days. So if something goes wrong, we can use that money. It's not like that your brother sets his own contingency, your sister sets her own contingency, your father, your mother. So they're not redundant contingency. There is a single contingency pool that everybody will use when the need urges. And the pooling of teams contingency along with sharing of the unspent pool contingency will incentivize the people to work together, so more collaboratively. So let me talk about defining and typical characteristics of IPD. The defining characteristic of IPD, it means the most important characteristic. If you do that, then you're doing IPD. What is that? That is a single contract, okay, in which all the parties are involved. If you have a single contract based on collaboration and shared rewards and risk and everything, then you are doing your project as IPD, okay, or multi-party contract. Multi-party contract, all agreed in the same contract, in a single contract. So typical characteristics of IPD are fast tracking. It means you could decide to do fast track or not, but most of the time to take advantage of IPD benefits, you would go ahead and do it with fast tracking. What else? Early involvement of the trade contractors, that is scarce in many other projects or in other delivery methods, but here you would ask for the feedback from your trade contractors. They could impact your design. So collaborative decision making, it's not like the decision is solely made by owner and designer and the construction team has to comply with that. Yes, of course, at the end of the day, everybody is working for owners' expectations, but the contractors, the suppliers, they can provide feedback for the design team, and the design team will try to accommodate their requests. The use of BIM technology. BIM is a great enabler of IPD. Why? Because in IPD, we need transparency of information, we need sharing of information, we need an open book culture. And what does do it better than BIM? Okay, what does it better than BIM? BIM enables all the team players to have access to information digitally in real time. Once anyone makes a change or modification on the drawings or documents, everybody could be notified about it without wastage of time and without, so it eliminates the chance of excuses such as I didn't know that, or I didn't know you guys have made that change, because data, all the information is on a source or on a reference that everybody has access to, and it is shared between all the project players. So BIM is a great enabler of IPD. The second tool of IPD is lean construction. If you remember, what was the main goal of lean? So lean was trying to maximizing the value for the owner and minimizing the waste. And if you remember by waste, we don't necessarily mean material waste. It could be a wide variety of waste. In fact, 7 different types of waste, which is not a topic here. But so what lean does is that it facilitates collaboration, okay, and involvement of different parties in all the decisions that are made, okay. So instead of going rigidly based on, a predefined procedure, what lean does is that it enables the team players to talk with one another and to make decisions together. So it's like, okay, can you postpone that so I could get my part done? This would probably help us, finish this part 2 days earlier. And then they say, okay, but I have to check that with another sub. And so everybody is working together for optimizing the schedule, for optimizing the budget, the use of the budget. So at the end of the day, you'll get your project could end up with significant savings, and could most of the time, according to the research, lean will lead to shrinked project duration. And shared financial risk and reward are the last and one of the most important typical characteristics. Again, the contract enables you to make modifications any way that you want, and as far as the parties agree to sign it, they are committed to it. So you could have an IPD-ish contract in which, for example, you could say we don't want to waive the right to sue one another, but the essence of IPD, or the original IPD, should have these characteristics, and anything that would hinder maximum collaboration is discouraged in IPD. Okay, so that completes our lecture for today. I see you all next time. Thanks.